and Team Golden Glory. I know you addressed it at the UFC 133 press conference, but for our viewers, why did you decide to cut the Golden Glory contracted fighters in the fashion that you did?
Yeah, no, I like it. Let's get into this. The bottom line is, and it's nothing personal against the Golden Glory management or the fighters. There's nothing personal there. I have no personal conflict with these guys whatsoever. They just do business differently than we do. You know, you can't, there will never be a day where I pay a manager and not pay the fighter. And the way that they work is they say it absolutely, positively has to be you pay us and we pay the fighters. And that's not how we work. So, and to clear the air and the confusion here, the people that have fought on the UFC card, we told them, or Strikeforce, you're going to be paid by us. We told Golden Glory, we won't pay you, we're paying the fighters.
Well, Dana, I can tell you, I had former Strikeforce women's bantamweight champion Marloes Coenen and Golden Glory trainer Martin de Jong on my radio show. And by the way, they convey the same feelings. They hold no ill will towards you or Zuffa. They feel that this goes back to maybe the prior Strikeforce regime, which is maybe a story for another day. But Dana, they also say that, you know, they are being paid directly. So why would you cut a woman who has done so much for the sport? And let's face it, I know you're not a fan of women's MMA, but in Strikeforce, don't you think Marloes Coenen deserved to have another shot at redemption?
Yeah, because the problem is that's not the way that Golden Glory wants to handle it. Yes, they were paid. They were paid by us. Basically, the way that it works is the checks are all written. It depends. Different commissions are different. Some commissions you have to pay the commissions, and then they put it in an account, and the commission pays them. Or in Nevada, and the way that it worked in Chicago is the checks are written by us, they're given to the commission, and the commission hands out the checks the fighters have to sign for them. Golden Glory says that this can't happen moving forward. I literally talked to the guy who runs it, his name is Ron, and he said, we can never do business like this. And I said, well, we can't do business that way. We have to pay the fighters, and it's the only way we will do it.
And last thing before we...
The fighters who fight for Golden Glory know that this is true and know that this is exactly the way that it works. And like I said yesterday in the press conference, we haven't done business with Golden Glory since semi-Schilt. And then people are on there going, yeah, but you did Dynamo. Yes, we did Dynamo. We were talking to Golden Glory. Golden Glory accepted the deal with Dynamo, saying that, yes, okay, you can pay him. And then when they showed up at the fight, they were going crazy and didn't like the way that it was being done. That's it.
Right, well...
Nothing against the fighters.
Absolutely, and I understand that, Dana, and they feel the same way. And hopefully, I'm not, you know, trying to pick your brain or anything, but I know that Alistair Overeem, since he was cut, as said, he would still like to fight in the UFC. And I guess what I'm asking you is if, you know, it seems like they're a big, strong family, Golden Glory, but if an opportunity ever arose, would you deal with Alistair Overeem in the future?
Yes, I would love to have Alistair Overeem in the heavyweight division. You know, if we can come to a deal and we can make this happen and we can pay Alistair Overeem his check when he fights and he can pay Golden Glory, then absolutely we can do a deal.
Dana, I was one of the few that wasn't surprised with your announcement yesterday that Fyodor Emelianenko, after his third consecutive loss, is no longer a Strikeforce fighter. I talked to M1 Global Director of Operations, one of the crazy Russians, as he called himself, Evgeny Kogan, who said that he has a contract for Fedor with Showtime. I don't want to get into that with you. What I do want to ask you, though, is this hatred for Fyodor Emelianenko, it seems. I'm the guy who said he was the Michael Jordan of MMA. Your infamous tweet, by the way, made me a very popular and very unpopular man. But why don't you think Fyodor is one of the, you know, if not the greatest mixed martial artist of all time?
Did you seriously just say the greatest mixed martial artist? He just got knocked out by a 185-pound 42-year-old. And he's been on this 3-fight losing streak. He's fought nothing but cans.
But Dana,
he's fought cans.
Dana, but yes, I understand that. But yeah, do you think anyone will do?
Do you know that on?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I just want to say during the first decade.
That on his record. We're blowing this. Go ahead, you talk.
No, sorry, Dana, it's my fault. I just want to say, I'll give my point. I'm going to give you the final word. In the first decade of the 21st century, he went essentially 32-0 with, let's face it, the one loss against Kosaka essentially was under dubious circumstances. 18 of those wins inside the first round. You can say, oh, he fought tomato cans or whatnot, but he got the job done and in dominating fashion. He beat Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira in his prime. He beat Mirko Krokop, who was considered the best striker at the time, and he's beaten a handful of UFC champions. I'm not saying that Anderson Silva, Randy Couture, Chuck Liddell don't deserve to be at the top as well. I just want to know, is it because you've never promoted Fedor that you have so much disdain, it seems, for his accomplishments? That's all.
I don't hate Fedor at all. I have no ill will toward Fedor. I don't even know the guy. You know, I met him one time when we were negotiating. But it cracks me up when you guys go through this whole, you know, if you look at some of the fights that he had when you're saying he went undefeated, one of the guys that he fought had one pro fight, and Fedor beat him. The only other win that guy had was against Jose Canseco. Okay? Then all the guys in here filming just started cracking up. Then another one of his fight, he fought a TV personality, and he won. That guy got submitted by Butterbean. Butterbean submitted him. These are the kind of fights that are on this guy's record when you guys were saying he's undefeated. And you said he beat a handful of UFC champions. He never beat a UFC champion.
Former champions, people who were...
Tim Sylvia.
Yes, Andrei Arlovsky, Mark Coleman, Kevin Randleman, they were champs at one time.
Thought you were going to let me say. I thought you were going to let me talk here.
Sorry, go ahead, sir.
He beat Tim Sylvia. He beat Andrei Arlovsky recently, within the last couple of years. Tim Sylvia and Andrei Arlovsky were not UFC champions. They were out of the UFC, former UFC champions. He never came in and faced the best during the time. Listen, it's one thing to say that this guy, back in 2005, and this is what I've been saying forever, back in 2005, maybe he was the best heavyweight back then. You don't know. He didn't fight everybody. He didn't fight all of the heavyweights that were out there. Our heavyweight division at the time, I admit, at that time was no good. When we had Andrei Arlovsky, Tim Sylvia, and those guys were passing the belt back and forth, the heavyweight division was never more weak. Now, everybody likes to make fun and rag on Brock Lesnar because he was in the WWE. That guy fought one fight with the K1 organization. He had one fight. And then came over here and fought all the best heavyweights at the time. You know, from Heath Herring to Randy Couture to Frank Mir to Cain Velasquez, Shane Carwin, you name it. He came in and fought the absolute best. Within the last 2 years, all of you guys out there, you media guys, and you're calling him the best fighter ever in MMA history. That's insane. And it has nothing to do with the fact that I never promoted him. The guy beat Brett Rogers and a handful of other guys and had 3 losses against Verdum, who basically left the UFC on losses, then ends up losing to Dan Henderson, who's a 40-year-old 185-pounder. Not only did he lose to him, he got knocked out by him. I mean, you guys are insane. I mean, for you guys to even... It's crazy. It makes my head want to explode.
Well, I can understand your passion, and I appreciate, and you make a very strong case, and I guess that's the thing about rankings and opinions and everything, Dana. And to be honest, I am one of those people, very sad, I think, like all MMA fans, that you didn't get a chance to promote Fedor during his prime, and you're right, maybe that would have allowed a lot of this to be cleared up. I still think, considering what he did, that he has to be considered one of the all-time best, and we agree to disagree, and I always value your time, and thank you so much.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. The reality is, if he had the opportunity to prove that, and he was offered a lot of money to do it. If you really want to go down in history and you think you're the best, then you should have come over here and fought the best at the time. You know? But he couldn't. He couldn't compete. He was losing over in Strikeforce against these other guys. He barely beat Brett Rogers. You know what I mean? It's just, he wasn't. And he ends up getting knocked out by Dan Henderson, who was a 185-pounder.
Love it. UFC President Dana White always...